game to start with, being senior night, with some guys who have put in a lot of work over the course of the 2, 4, 6 years that they've been here. I think our team talked about it, what they owed these seniors who have set so many records since they've been here. Really the emotion may have hurt us a little bit offensively. I think we were extremely jittery. There was a lot of tears in people's eyes coming out of that field, and it helped us defensively. Our guys were, I think the emotion really helped us defensively, and we had a great effort defensively for us, and hold on to 7 points, and our third down percentages were great. So it's great for our team, with a great atmosphere, with game day being here, with all the stuff that's around this program right now, for our guys to be able to block all that out and play and continue to win. I can't say enough about how they've handled it so far, and how they're continuing to look forward to practicing as well as playing and keeping this thing together. Questions?
Every time they got close, it seemed like the defense stepped up and stopped them, be it, 4th down, 3rd down. Can you talk about that play?
Well, I thought, we were able to do some things early in the game on 3rd down to get off the field. I think the way that we play our particular style, as I've said, what we talk about is 3rd down percentage on defense and our 3rd down percentage on offense, and points and points allowed. And we've made dramatic changes in 3rd down defense. We were almost 50% last year, giving up 3rd downs, which turns into can't get off the field. I think we're in 38 or something like that now, 37, which is a drastic change for us defensively, and point total is down. So, we've improved defensively. We're not anywhere near where we want to be, but certainly, I think that improvement has given us some confidence to play in those type of situations, and quite frankly, I think it was good for us to be in a game like that going to Tulsa. The last 5-6 weeks, our guys have been standing on the sideline in the 3rd quarter. So for them to play a whole game and really push themselves and stress a little bit, I think that's good, because with what we want to accomplish, these next few weeks are championship weeks.
And Coach, talk about Sammy Brown's performance as a linebacker, and you guys be able to get more sacks.
Yeah, Sammy was hobbling. It didn't really. He got an ankle early at Tulane last week. Didn't play a whole bunch. Didn't really practice till yesterday and Thursday. We made that decision that he knew what he was doing, and a healthy Sammy Brown was. We don't ask him to do a whole lot except rush the passer. So as long as he felt good, and he said he did feel good yesterday and this morning, he gutted it out. And that thing was sore. You saw him stay down there a couple times, but obviously he was a real difference maker in this game.
Can you speak a little bit to his toughness? I mean, because he's been banged up in some games this year.
Yeah, he's been banged up. I said earlier this year, Sammy was in the top 5 last year in the nation in tackles for loss. I think the difference is his discipline this year. He made great plays for us last year, but he also hurt us and contained and chasing things, just running out there wild. He wasn't in shape. He had just gotten here. He worked really hard in the off season on his conditioning and strength. He's a talented player, and Jamie Bryan has done a great job with him, really working on his pass rush moves, but also making him a disciplined player and being able to play the run too. So, his goal, our goal for Sammy at the beginning of last year was to make him become a complete player instead of just a pass rusher, and he's worked his way towards that. And that and toughness and knowing how to play Division I football. It's week 11, 12. Nobody's completely healthy now, and guys have to understand that comes with the maturity level of knowing that, hey, I'm not going to be exactly 100% this time of year, but being able to know the difference between pain and injury, and we're not going to put anybody in harm's way, but if this time of everybody's nicked up a little bit, and you've got to go out there and compete if it's within you.
Did the wind affect the passing games at all on either side, you think?
I don't know. You know, we gambled and took the win coming out of the second half. I just thought it was important for us to get jump-started offensively. And instead of waiting and taking it in the fourth quarter, maybe giving them a chance to get something going. It was a factor, particularly in the kicking game. I thought it was a factor, and really they were able to move the ball and effectively give us some long fields in the first half. And you know, we weren't able to score as many touchdowns as we'd like to in the red zone. I think that's one area where we needed to improve. We got clicking a little bit in the second half. We had to be more patient with what we were doing, but you know, we're just a little off. You know, we dropped a touchdown, you know, early. In the second half, we missed the block. They did a great job of tackling in the open field in the first half. You know, there was a lot of plays on the field that it was one-on-one, and they got us on the ground. And you know, they played well. You got, you know, like I said coming in here, they weren't going to be intimidated. You could tell by their team talk during the week. June does a great job. They're well coached in all phases, special teams, everything, and you know, we knew what we were going to get into.
Coach, can you talk about the moments that you had with your seniors at the beginning of the game, and what it meant for you and for them in that 4-year run, your fourth year? Some of those guys came into when you came in. What was that emotion between you and those individual talks that you had with all the guys?
Well, it was, you know, a lot of it was personal, but by nature. But you know, you can imagine. You know, I'm extremely appreciative of those guys. You know, that battled through here. You know, Case has been a starter since we've been here, even though we didn't recruit him. But the other guys, you know, there's four or five guys that are fifth-year guys that accepted us as coaches. Came here and really, you know, changed, accepted a change in personality of coaching, and continued to win. The other guys are guys that we've recruited that came here with a vision, and you know, they've seen it and been in big ball games, and they're very, very driven right now. The addition of Mike Hayes and Sammy Brown as junior college players who are seniors, I think you can see their impact on this team. And our guys understand that. You know, they came into a situation where they were going to start and be impact players, and they've done that. And you know, sometimes that can upset the team, but our guys get it. The best people play. Guys who work during the week and get it play. And I'm really, really appreciative of everything that they've accomplished so far.
Do you think most players said that these players assume the coach's personality? Do you think these guys going out, has the Sumlin personality finally set in, and is it a bedrock now for what you want to get?
You know, I don't know. That's you guys come up with that phrase. You know, all I do is coach the game and coach the team. You know, our program. We have certain things that we go through in the off season. I think it starts in recruiting. You know, personality-wise, and we don't get everybody that we want, but you know, we try to get a fit for what we do. And have guys with high motors and guys that appreciate the opportunity to play and grow a program. You know, and I think, as I said when I got here, you know, we want to compete for championships, and we want to be a top 25 program. And I'm very, very grateful to the guys who are here, that group of guys, because a lot of them, you know, there was no proof that would happen. They believed in it and came to school here. They had choices, and they saw the vision, believed in it, and they're executing it. You know, those are the guys that make things happen. It's not. We don't play as coaches. You know, everybody's got a vision. You start out at the beginning of the year. Everybody's goal is to win every game, but players make that happen. And how they approach things, not only on game day, but how they approach things every day, make that happen. And I think this group understands that, coming from what they've been through.
Coach, now that you're one of only 2 undefeated teams left, what kind of case do you think you made today to move up and then to get into possible BCS?
You know, I don't know. All we can do is win. I've told our team that you know, where we are as a non-AQ team right now, you know, we can't get caught up in where we should be, what's going to happen. You know, we don't have any bearing on that. What we do have is, I tell these guys, if you win, you will not be ignored. And so for us to continue to win, then we'll have that conversation at the end. So, you know, you're looking at a group of guys that, what, 7 weeks ago weren't even in the rankings. So, you know, it's hard for us to complain about a lot of things right now. You know, and you know, we're fortunate to be where we are. Where we'd like to be higher, sure, but we recognize the process, and it gets back to our team talk of, hey, listen, just win, and people will recognize your efforts.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about Case and what he's gone through, particularly to get back here, and how that's helped spur the program?
Well, I think you know, it's very evident that we've talked all year about how he's come back from a severe injury, the road that he took to get back. I think there was a tremendous amount of pressure on him mentally to handle things. I think it goes without saying, I said this a couple of weeks ago, that you know, during that time, it's not just the pressure of rehab to get back, it's the pressure to come back and be as good as you were. And I think a lot of people just assume that, but when that's you, that's a whole nother deal. You know, you're dealing with just trying to rehab, but there's also pressure. All right, when I get back out there, you know, am I going to be the same guy? You know, that's the kind of stuff that I don't think people really think about. There were some times in March, April, May where it was very, very difficult on him as a person. But he's a strong guy, physically, mentally. He took some shots in there tonight I didn't want him to take. You know, he's over there on the sideline. Get out of bounds. Guy hit him right in the face, scrambling around. You know, that's where he is as a competitor. And I looked at him at the end when we took him out. And I said, man, you got way too much paint all over yourself. You know, you could have done something. Won a bunch of sacks. He's just out there running around. I said, you're smarter than that. You know, but he wants to win in the worst way. He's going to do whatever it takes. And as I said, you know, he's a complete football player.
Can you talk about the continued impact of DJ Hayden?
Yeah, DJ Hayden is, you know, we got Zach McMillan in there, and then he got hurt, and I think June saw that because we put Thomas Bates in there, and they threw every ball at Thomas Bates. He couldn't stay on his feet, and I kept trying to pump Thomas up. And you know, even from our sideline, I'm looking over there, all I could see was his eyes. You know, we got to calm him down. We don't, but you know, DJ is a, you know, he makes plays. He's a fast closer. He's very athletic. He's been a great addition to our program. He plays with energy. You know, they get the throwback off the kickoff. He contains it out there. You know, I don't know that. You know, a couple of years ago, last year, if he's not on the field, that could have been trouble. You know, but he's an athlete, physical guy, and gives us some help at corner. As I said, it enables us to do some things with him as a coverage side guy to get people in the box that we probably couldn't do last year.
What happened to Zach and how is he?
I don't know. He's. I'll update you tomorrow. You know. I don't really talk about injuries after the game. Some guys limp off of here, and they come in tomorrow and they're ready to go. So you know, we'll figure it out.
Kevin, you mentioned the kind of the pressure on Case to get back to the level where he was. When did you realize he was going to get back to that level?
I don't know, maybe a week before the first game, maybe a week to 10 days. We were in a team session. He didn't do much in the spring. He didn't do anything. And then, you know, we went through two-a-days, and he only sat out a 3 practices out of the 28 or 9, whatever you got. And about a week or two, we had we were ones-on-ones, and pass rush came, and it was probably, I think it was Sammy anyway, and he slid around in the pocket for the first time, slid a little bit, moved to his right, and sat down and threw a ball down the middle of the field. And Cliff kind of looked at me and said, that's it. You know, because he hadn't moved around a bunch, he hadn't done a bunch of that, but once you saw him do that, then you know he felt comfortable. And you know, I think, you know, you'd have to ask him, was he comfortable? Because I wouldn't ask him, because he probably wouldn't tell me the truth anyway. So, we didn't really talk. We just talked about how it felt with the soreness, and deferred to the doctors all the time about how to handle it, and he's a mature guy, and obviously he's come back and played at the same level or higher this year than he's ever played.
A couple final ones for Coach. Can you talk briefly about?
I got you.
Can you talk briefly about what this week's going to hold with it being a short week holiday?
Sure, we're used to that. We played 3 Thursday games, so we actually got an extra day this week. I told them in there. We played three Thursday games, so we'll approach it the same way because it's 11 o'clock kickoff. It's a little bit different because of Thanksgiving, but anybody who's been around football, football teams and coaches, there is no Thanksgiving really. Most people are sitting at home watching people play football. So our guys are used to it. We would be practicing anyway on Thursday because if we played Saturday. But we're fortunate, it's kind of how I look at it, kind of a glass half full. We've been in 3 Thursday night games. We understand the preparation of a short week, and like I said, we get an extra day, I guess, this week instead of the Thursday night bonanzas that we've been involved in.
Any final questions for Coach?
How critical that defensive stand after they drove all the way down, you guys, in that drive interception by Stewart up the middle?
Phillips done that. Has had games like that all year. He's athletic. He can play in a dime. He can play in a lot of different things. He probably could have had another one later in the game. He's come to play. Here's a guy who's been out here ever since he's a freshman, as a junior, and we got our hands on some other balls too. And so I was very, very happy with our defensive effort as a whole. We're not there by any means, but I think our team feels the improvement. It had probably been a very, very different game a couple of years ago, but our guys are growing with confidence and enjoy playing, and I couldn't be happier with how they're approaching the game right now.
Coach, you talk about T-Rain.
Okay.
The level you guys have been playing at, particularly last month, but all season, to where a 30-point win, a comfortable 30-point win or so, and you say you guys were really tested.
Well, if you look at the majority of the game, it was a close game. At halftime, I think our fans and a little bit our players get a little jittery if we're not scoring every time we have the ball. So honestly, we kind of guard against that. That's why I said, hey, just be patient. Let's be patient. We'll be all right. Particularly if our defense plays like that. And they gave us a chance to be patient tonight and do some things and really, get together as an offense, as a staff, and say, all right, what are we getting here? They mixed it up great on defense, and really our defense was able to keep us in a lead and by not allowing them to score. So. There's patience. I think there's some value, real value, in being in a game like that tonight before we get to Tulsa, just because, quite frankly, the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's like you said, our guys have been on the bench in the third quarter, and late in the third quarter and early in the fourth quarter, and for us to be stressed, I think is a good thing going into this, going where we need to be, and gave us coaches a chance to yell at some guys, and we talked as an offense, to get to 30, it's 23 to put the game away. We needed a championship drive, and our guys accepted that challenge and marched the ball down the field to get to 30, and that's what we need to do in games like that to be a championship team.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. We'll bring
All right, thank you guys.